You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting common citizens at the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex of which the NSF is part of.
So recently, my friends Tom Woods and Dan Smotz put together a video about Thomas Massie's most courageous political statements. This video gets into his most principled areas and his best advocacy in the United States, in Washington, a lone dissident, it seems, in a vast world of swamp creatures. This really did a good job, I think, of articulating his vision. So let's give it a look. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Most Democrats are just fine with this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. It sets up a fake fight that we all know here is fake. Somebody come down here and tell me it's not fake. You all know it's fake. The compromise has already been reached in a smoke-filled back room here. But that's what it is political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm sort of in I would say, a different category. The president's consultants have spent $1.8 million against me. And Trump called me 3 times on the floor of the House. I'm coming at you like you've never seen. Never in your life before. Have you seen the way in which I will come at you? I'm more popular than you in Kentucky, and you know it. And you're gonna lose.
And isn't it telling that while Trump drags Massie continually for, supporting the release of the Epstein files that he's trying to cover up, opposing his absurd wars, including the new one versus Iran, and actually standing on principle and saying we shouldn't spend America $37 trillion into debt, that Trump is also endorsing Lindsey Graham at the same time, golfing with Lindsey Graham, allowing Lindsey Graham to have his ear on things like Ukraine. That's just exposing the absurdity, and Thomas Massie's a guy that stands on principle regardless of who's in power.
It's all posturing, it's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. It's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. I got in my car and I drove 8 hours, and they're like, shit, Massie's going to do it. They went to the parliamentarian and they're like, is there any way around this? And he's like, nope, Massie's right. The Constitution requires a quorum. Mr. Speaker, I came here to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber, and I request a recorded vote.
Oh man, that gets to my feels that the Republican party just completely discards any sort of mentality of preserving the original axioms of what the founding fathers wanted, not to violate individual rights. And Massie's actually representing that view now in the 21st century that has long been discarded by the political orthodoxy. It's something that Ron Paul talked about all the time. I think it's heroics. I mean, he is not unwilling to put his neck on the line here, to have his own reputation tarnished, to take these stands against popular presidents and his own party. It really speaks to, the charm and allure that Massie has with so many people, like him or not.
Truth, if you're willing to report it, is they don't want a recorded vote. They don't want to be on record of making the biggest mistake in history. This is the second time you've done something like this. And they talked me out of it before, but not this time. And then he said he thought it was the second time. I'd done that like 8 times since he was president. He just started realizing it's the same guy.
He's got a pretty good Trump impression. I can't do that, by the way.
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk to change the title of the bill to A bill to kick the can down the road and for other purposes.
This bill is just the first step, a down payment.
Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? This bill is a debt bomb ticking. We're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what Washington's doing, regardless of which party's in power. And so many people, in the right-wing establishment say, well, Thomas Massie just sides with the Dems on everything. And a lot of people in the Democratic establishment say, Thomas Massie just sides with the Republicans on everything. But when the truth comes down to it, it's that Thomas Massie sides on principle. I know that's an alien concept in Washington, but he's exactly right. The debt and spending catastrophe that Republicans embrace too, despite sometimes having good rhetoric on that issue, is akin to, putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg. That's the perfect analogy.
If something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight.
I think the Federal Reserve absolutely needs to be audited. They really exceeded any kind of constitutional authority that they should be given.
It is poison. When you print money, it is poison to our economy. The principle is called dilution. And when you print $5 trillion and you put it into the economy, you have diluted the value of the money. The principle is so simple that a child can understand.
That's exactly right. And the Fed, for all the reasons Ron Paul talked about too. Inflation really is a criminal tax. It's the devaluation of our money that doesn't have to even be legislated. That's why, politics isn't surrounding tax changes that much, tweak the top bracket 2% here and there, depending on what party's in power. They can finance all their wars and corporate welfare and welfare schemes in general through delusion of the money, through inflation, through a deliberate act of printing more money. It's not a law of nature that the US dollar has to lose value. That is a choice that the bankers and politicians in tandem have come to, and I'm really glad Massie's helping to expose that.
His third tweet was, he's terrible on guns. It's like, what? Where did that come from? Have you seen my Christmas card picture? Right.
Take the firearms first and then go to court. I like taking the guns early.
My question is this receiver legal or not? Because your bill is ambiguous. The people who own guns, which is the majority of Americans, are starting to see through this.
We're knocking out bump stocks. I've told the NRA, I've told it, bump stock's a gun.
What he's showing us here is not a bump stock. Would the Democrats be amenable if and when they find out that that's not a bump stock?
How ironic is it for Trump to say that Massie's bad on guns when Trump banned bump stock? Bump stocks, that was actually reversed through the courts, but he has no understanding of what guns are, what bump stocks are, what the Second Amendment means. That means shall not be infringed, that the government can't even approach the subject of regulating arms, and didn't even try to do that until the 1934 NFA, by the way. So Massie's right here again.
Like if they could use Wikipedia or a picture, would anybody over there be amenable if they found out, and you will eventually, the internet's going to help you here in about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll bring it down a notch.
All right, folks.
Have you ever worked in the school?
I've got a bill to repeal the
I
federal...
worked in the school for 20 years.
You're just screaming.
I was a teacher. I was screaming.
We've got guns here to protect us.
Why?
I believe the kids should have somebody to protect them.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem.
We are going to the Capitol. It's that direction. We are going to the Capitol. That's where our problem.
Yeah, this was an entrapment scheme, just like the pipe bombs that were there that we still don't have answers for. Ray Epps part of it, leading people into the Capitol. And Thomas Massie stood with these people that were prosecuted when Trump wouldn't do that. Trump repeated in this speech a lot of the same propaganda that you heard from Nancy Pelosi and AOC about the insurrection narrative. It was criminal. Guess who was on the right side of that? Massie.
We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. We are going to the Capitol. The Capitol's in that direction. Let people know. Spread Spread the word.
How many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th, whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did?
We need to go into the Capitol. What?
So even they knew he was a Fed right there. I mean, it was clear as day. Someone encouraging you to get in a position where you can be exploited by a criminal government. That's exactly what at least these onlookers thought, and that's what all of America thought, that actually thought about this reasonably.
The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy.
You're sending grandmas to prison. You're putting people away for 20 years for merely filming. Some people weren't even there yet. You got the guy on video who's saying go into the Capitol. He's directing people to the Capitol before the speech ends. He's at the site of the first breach, and it's an indictment for a misdemeanor? The American public isn't buying it.
Isn't it true you have a science degree from Yale?
Well, it's liberal arts education and degree. It's a bachelor.
Okay, so it's not really science. So I think it's somewhat appropriate that somebody with a pseudoscience degree is here pushing pseudoscience.
Today, our nation has achieved a medical miracle.
Yeah, and he boasted about the vaccines too, continues to boast about being the architect of Operation Warp Speed, when Massie was exposing the madness that was that too. And the criminality of the COVID regime, its religious worship restrictions, its closures of businesses, its forcible dictates to make old people die alone without their relatives. Trump was part of pushing that. He kept Fauci in power. He gave Fauci medals at the end of his term. This was Trump. This was the Trump that we had in the White House when that was unfolding. And it was catastrophic. And Biden's not off the hook, and Thomas Massie didn't let him off the hook either. But Trump was complicit in this by suspending the dictates of normal governance, invoking the Stafford Act and the Emergency Powers Act to give the state governments cover to lock down their respective localities.
I am thrilled to report that the FDA has authorized the Pfizer vaccine.
Well, first of all, it's none of your business, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not vaccinated. And until there's some science, by the way, I have a master's of science degree from MIT. I'm not a virologist, but I can read data.
Operation Warp Speed was considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country.
Can you tell me if anybody's been granted a religious exemption?
I don't know.
So I believe that it's fraud. In fact, fraud to tell people that you're going to preserve their constitutional religious accommodations by telling they can apply for an exemption and then not allowing any of those exemptions.
And I would hope that we've learned something from the COVID experience, that some of our science projects aren't the best ideas.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines.
I got my booster shot as soon as they were available.
Yeah, the entire establishment was in lockstep on this, including Trump. He still boasts about it, I think as recently as like a week ago, boasting about how he was the architect of Operation Warp Speed. And that's how you know he's not getting good advice from his strategists and subordinates and the people he chums around with, because even his own base completely rejects that idea right now, that was a good idea. And pushing this in terms of the mandates that, you know, was the next gradual step and precedent that Biden tried to force down our throats. It started with Trump. This was a horrific idea.
Just the other day, former President Trump announced he had gotten his booster shot. Maybe one of the few things he and I agree on.
This truth was toxic to a narrative that Pfizer was spreading, that Joe Biden wanted out there so that he could force the vaccine on everybody, whether you had natural immunity or not. I don't think the press gets special privileges on the First Amendment. I don't think Congress does. I think every American, by virtue of being an American, has the right to free speech enshrined in the Constitution. They are at the same time denying that censorship is occurring, but suggesting that there's more material that needs to be censored.
So when I go to D.C., and they threaten me or try to bribe me, it's like, I know once Friday comes, I'm going to be back on my farm and I don't need them.
Pride in America is looked down upon right now. It's out of fashion. But pride in Israel is something we have to vote on 2 or 3 times a week now in Congress.
Isn't that the truth? This is the Israel first mentality that he is one of the lone voices on the right of exposing, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was Massie that went on Tucker Carlson and revealed the stunning revelation that no one wanted to believe and no one wanted to hear in the political establishment, that everyone in Congress has an AIPAC guy that follows them around, tries to keep their votes in line such that you support Israel over your own communities. That's absolutely what we get now.
AIPAC is very persuasive. For instance, the Israeli lobby in Congress, if you look at my colleagues' feeds now, they all look the same. Everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter. And when they come to D.C., you go have lunch with them. I don't want to condone what Israel's doing. 1% of the civilian population of Gaza is no longer breathing air, no longer on this planet. If 1% of the U.S. civilian population were eliminated, that would be 1,000 9/11s. And I don't think we should be a party to that.
Yeah, put that into perspective. 1,000 9/11s. Americans would not accept that kind of death and devastation, but we're just supposed to bankroll it when it comes to Netanyahu and Israel and his, determination for the Greater Israel Project to expand Israel's borders into Syria and Lebanon, to take over Gaza, starve the people out, and create concentration camps in the ruins where Rafah once stood. And that's not hyperbole. Look at what Israel Katz has proposed for that. Massie, again, heroic on this.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Iran, the reality is they don't have a missile that can reach the United States. They're not near to getting a missile that can reach the United States. If we're going to lead, we should lead, and we should have good relations with every country. And we should conduct ourselves in a manner that sends a signal to the rest of the world.
That's right. Be a beacon to the rest of the world to follow. Don't try to export whatever vision that you have for the rest of the world on it through military force, through the barrel of the gun. And I'm glad that Massie stood up with Ro Khanna in a coalition to oppose the unilateral bombing of Iran. That was criminal. That was unconstitutional. That's something that Trump himself complained about Biden doing when Biden bombed Iran. The hypocrisy is inescapable. Trump just can't get around it. Republicans can't get around it, because if this was Biden doing it, they would complain too. The tribalistic elements in our society and in our culture are poisonous beyond recognition.
That we're not tyrants.
I want everybody to stop dying.
I think I represent part of the coalition that elected President Trump. We were tired of endless wars in the Middle East and tired of wars in Eastern Europe. And we were promised that we would put our veterans, our immigration policies, and our infrastructure first. I don't need the job. We're self-sustaining. I help my neighbors, and my neighbors help me. And that's what enables me to go to Washington, D.C. and say, you don't have anything over on me.
Yeah, think and act locally rather than nationally, just trying to force this unilateral, one-size-fits-all vision on the entire country. That's the manner of thinking that would be better. The Jeffersonian way of thinking, where localities mattered more, where peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none, would be our creed toward foreign policy. That's been completely discarded by both parties, but Massie embraces it. That's why he is the Cato the Younger of our time, a man that stands in Washington in a world full of Caesars.
Like, you could literally take everything I've got and I can create it again. You can pull all my fingernails out, you can shove bamboo up in them, you can start cutting off my fingers. I am not voting for Mike Johnson tomorrow, and you can take that to the bank. I don't know why it should be politically painful to be transparent.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
This is not going away. Congress, a co-equal branch with the president, should demand the release of everything that they have regarding the Epstein files. I mean, people have wanted these files for years, and now we're being told it's a hoax.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats.
If it's a hoax, President's own children fell for the hoax, the Vice President fell for the hoax, Kash Patel fell for the hoax. I don't think it's a hoax.
Yeah, that really says it all. The whole idea that the Epstein files was a Democratic hoax, after promising to release them, after having so many subordinates of Trump elevated by Trump, after having talked about that, about how transparency wasn't delivered by the Biden administration on this. But Trump has engaged in the cover-up too, and thankfully Massie's been heroic on this too. Just yesterday, he was with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna with Epstein victims in public, telling their story, demanding the release of the Epstein files, despite Mike Johnson's attempts with Trump to cover it up.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein.
This transcends all other issues. And right now, anybody who wants to subvert or keep the Epstein files secret, they are on the wrong side. The American people deserve this, regardless of what the political ramifications are for the speaker. Politicians do not like conflict. They'd like to tell both sides that they're on their side. Democrats want to grow the welfare state, and Republicans want to grow the military-industrial complex.
Well, I'm sorry to say Republicans want to grow the welfare state too. It's not like there's been meaningful cuts in that regard. And part of the welfare state is the corporate welfare state to Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. Massie's speaking to that right now, of course. You see Josh Shapiro signing bombs that will be dropped on human beings, killing them. How ghastly is this? It's unimaginable. While Zelensky smiles on, and we're again supposed to embrace this Ukraine first mentality in Eastern Europe to try to, embroil tensions and keep them prolonged with Russia. It's so absurd and counterintuitive, and it means nothing to regular Americans that are having trouble making ends meet. They're suffering because of inflation caused by these sorts of policies. Massie pointing them out.
People are becoming despondent, apathetic. Why would they go vote if they gave us the House, the Senate, and the White House, and the transparency and justice they were promised doesn't happen? Like, it's immoral, but even if you're okay with the amorality or immorality of it, it's short-sighted. Because
that's why I don't vote, by the way, generally speaking, in federal elections, because the promises that are good are never kept, and the promises that are bad are always kept.
Because eventually it'll catch up with us.
So do any of the dumbos you work with understand that? What he promised us was we would put America first.
No, I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no.
Did it change your views at all?
No.
That's why we love Massie. He says no to all the duplicity that Washington wants to put forward, regardless of whether it's Trump or Biden in office, and regardless of which party he's a part of, which party controls Congress. He just does things in alignment with the original American spirit that we were supposed to have, that our founders generally envisioned, no matter which side of the Constitution and ratification they were on. This idea of individual liberty supplanting all other things in life and governance is something that Massie embraces, and the Washington political establishment has long since discarded. So there it is. Great video. I really appreciate Dan Smotz for producing this amazing video. Protect that man at all costs. Dan Smotz is an incredibly talented video producer, and this isn't just a small fragment of the work he's done for other people and other libertarians to promote our views and our message. And the one he did here for Massie is just exemplary, though. Probably his best work ever. Thank you for Tom Woods, also my friend, for financing this. And thank you for Dissident Media for publishing this. I'm going to link their YouTube down below. Dissident Media is a media group covering dissident political thought, especially from a libertarian-oriented direction, and I really appreciate this. Thanks for the opportunity to view this video. It really is a gift to view it. I've seen this video 3 times now, and it's fantastic. It really sells Massie in a way that, the mainstream media, legacy media, and the political establishment will not want you to see. So please spread this video far and wide. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below, what do you think is the most redeemable feature about Massie? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Dissident Media. Thanks again, guys, for this video. And please consider becoming a YouTube member. If you click the join button below, you can help support my channel. And in return, I'll give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.